What's good, y'all? It's your boy Sean P. the Bluff Guy. Hey! And we are back with another One Piece reaction. And today we will be reacting to somebody I've recently been introduced to. I mean, I've never heard of this content creator until recently, till somebody submitted this video into the Discord submission channel. Make sure you are a part of the Discord so you can send me stuff like this video as well. And this is from content creator AO Larry. And the title of this video is The Joyboy Graveyard Theory. Now, before we get into this theory, make sure you guys hit that like button, also subscribe, hit that bell for notifications. Comment down below your thoughts on the theory, your thoughts on my reaction. What did I get right? What did I get wrong? What did the theory get right? What did the theory get wrong? Let me know down in the comments below. Follow me on Twitch. Make sure you guys are following me on Twitch so you can catch me live and you can engage with me in real time. Also, follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook if you want to contact me directly. Or, like I said earlier, become part of the Discord. That's usually where I am the most active, right? So if you want to contact me, the Discord is where I'm the most active. If you want to become part of a future discussion stream, be part of the Discord. If you want to send me content to react to, be part of the Discord. All of these will be in the description box down below, as well as the link to this video that we are reacting to. So make sure you guys show AO Larry some love. Right? Okay. Now getting into the actual theory. We got a Joyboy graveyard theory, and from the looks of the thumbnail, my ear itching. From the looks of the thumbnail of this video, it looked like there was a graveyard in like Mary Joa, right? So I'm assuming maybe this graveyard theory has to do with something in Mary Joa, right? Maybe or because I've stated, right, we talk about devil fruits, we talk about the origin of devil fruits. One thing I personally believe, a theory that I believe, is I don't know if it's like a big common theory out there, but it's a theory that me and Elids talked about, right? We talked about people creating devil fruit abilities with hockey, right? With the use of hockey, and possibly like maybe there's a graveyard that of these wielders that created this these devil fruit abilities with hockey proficient, a high level of proficient hockey. Maybe their grave created the tree that we know as the Adam and the Eve tree, possibly, and created these devil fruits. That's one theory that I'm kind of I kind of back, right? This theory that people created these devil fruit abilities, they died, their graveyard produced these fruits, right? Their graveyards possibly turned into the Adam and Eve tree, which produced these fruits. Now I don't know if this theory kind of go in line with that, right? Maybe these people are the Joy Boys, right? The Joy Boy graveyard turned into an Adam or Eve tree. Maybe it did. Maybe it just was a graveyard that produced fruit. I don't know. But yeah, and judging off of this theory, it makes me think that there are multiple Joy Boys, because it said the Joy Boy graveyard, meaning there is a graveyard full of Joy Boys, which feeds into another theory that I have. There been multiple Joy Boys throughout time, right? Maybe throughout history, there's been multiple Joy Boys. Maybe Luffy isn't the first Joy Boy since the original Joy Boy. Maybe Roger was a Joy Boy or a Joy Boy candidate, I like to say, because why I say a Joy Boy candidate is you're not necessarily Joy Boy, but you have the potential to be Joy Boy. Maybe he just failed at becoming Joy Boy, where Luffy is succeeding at becoming Joy Boy. And maybe there's been multiple people who've been Joy Boy candidates, but they failed at becoming Joy Boy because they were either too early, too late, or they just flat out failed. Maybe they had everything there available to them, but they lost or they fell. You know, maybe there is for every Joy Boy, maybe there's meant to be like a anti Joy Boy. You know, kind of like Blackbeard, right? We got Luffy being Joy Boy, Blackbeard being anti Joy Boy. Maybe Roger was Joy Boy. Maybe Zebek was an anti Joy Boy. You know, and my thought is maybe there was these Joy Boy candidates, and some of them were too early, some of them were too late, some of them just flat out failed because they lost to whoever the anti Joy Boy was. Those are just some type of theories that I kind of believe is possible, right? So I don't know. Let's get into this theory. This theory is a little lengthy, not too lengthy. It's a little lengthier than the theories that I've been reacting to as of late. So let's get into this theory.
Told you that the world government was secretly hiding a Joy Boy grave. What if I told you that the world government was secretly hiding a Joy Boy graveyard within Marie Joa, and Emu was the one that showed us? Hey Nakama, my name is Larry. I am the host of the podcast called That One Piece Talk. We are a podcast that discusses One Piece. Before we spring into this wildly thrilling video, we would be honored if you joined our Discord, liked this video, and subscribed to my personal channel, or even followed our podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. You can find all those links in the description of this video below. Thank you so much. Now, let's get it. So before I encourage that there is in fact a Joy Boy graveyard within Marie Joa, I must first show you what brought upon this curious concept. During One Piece chapter 906, we see Emu make their debut. During Emu's walk, we see them open a door that leads to a corridor of rooms. As your eyes grasp these panels, there are 7 rooms that we can see, but there may be more. The one Emu is walking towards is lit up. It's noteworthy that in the manga, the corridor Emu's walking through is brightly shown, but in the anime, it isn't. Let's skip that part for now, since it'll confuse things. After Emu walks into that room, we see a huge straw hat, which can be tied to the previous Joy Boy, or a Joy Boy, theoretically. Now, this is where the theory gets exhilarating. There's been discussion of what it means to turn into or gain the moniker of Joy Boy.
I never considered that, right? Like that Joy Boy hat that we seen at Mary Joa being not the original Joy Boy hat, but maybe a different Joy Boy. But my question would be like, why do they have it in a room by itself? If it's just some other random Joy Boy, right, that may have failed, like I kind of say the Joy Boy candidates, why would it be in a room by itself? Like Ian went to that specific chamber to see that specific hat for some reason, right? Like that hat had to belong to a special Joy Boy. And the only Joy Boy I would see as special is the only 2 Joy Boys, if let's say going off of this theory that there have been multiple Joy Boys, the only 2 Joy Boys I can see as special. And I think I'll leave room for a third potential Joy Boy, right? A third potential Joy Boy. But the 2 ones I see as special is the original Joy Boy, because he's kind of the one who kicked this whole thing off, like the Joy Boy who was leading the ancient kingdom, like that Joy Boy, and Monkey D. Luffy, because he's the Joy Boy that will succeed. You know what I'm saying? Out of all the other failed Joy Boys. But the third Joy Boy I can also consider, or I would think could be noteworthy, is maybe if the original Joy Boy came let's say the original Joy Boy was Nika, and Nika was before the Void Century, like ancient history, like before the whole ancient kingdom, and or maybe even early ancient kingdom, and like and let's say there was a Joy Boy of like during the ancient kingdom times where they fought the 20 kingdoms, right? If that's the case, maybe that Joy Boy was close to Eam. You know, maybe Eam and that Joy Boy, which this was the Joy Boy, the one who led the ancient kingdom against the 20 kingdoms, right? The Joy Boy that came after Nika. Maybe that Joy Boy had a special relationship with Eam, making, you know, making that Eam special to, or making that Joy Boy special to Eam, possibly, right? Because if that's the case, that's why Eam went to go visit that hat of that Joy Boy, because that Joy Boy was special to that Eam. So, you know, that's why I don't think that hat belongs to some other random Joy Boy. You know, I think that has to be the original Joy Boy, or one of the Joy Boys that came later but was closely connected with Eam. You know what I mean? So that's
Let me make it clear cut for you by using the words of the late queen of Fishman Island, Odahime. She explains to her sons that the mermaid who can talk to the Neptunians is born once every few centuries. Also, that along with that special mermaid will come one that can guide her to use her power for good. When that time comes, the world will change. That's what the legend says. But if used maliciously, it could sink the entire world, indicating there are two Joy Boys within an era, one that brings the dawn and one that brings the night. If we take Odahime's words for what they are, she is describing the traits of a Joy Boy that will repeatedly have companionship to Poseidon herself, and will guide her to use her power for good or evil whenever she reincarnates. Does this mean Joy Boy can also not be a good person? Let's hold on to that thought as we proceed.
I mean, that is a good point, right? That is a good point, because I've also mentioned how a Blackbeard could potentially be a Joy Boy candidate as well, right? Now, I don't know though, right? Like, I would think Joy Boy would be a leader of good. You know, maybe her saying that, like, if used wrong, it could maybe her saying that is just saying like if he was to use it wrong, it could change. But he, you know, because you know she doesn't. I don't think she knows about Joy Boy enough to dictate if there's like multiple Joy Boys or anything, right? But if this is true, right? If this idea that there could be two Joy Boys existing at the same time, one that is bad and one that is good, then yes, Blackbeard could be that other Joy Boy. But I don't think that's the case. I think, you know, there is one Joy Boy at a time, but I do believe there to be like a anti Joy Boy, kind of like what I just said, like what I said earlier. You have an anti Joy Boy, someone who is almost just as worthy as fulfilling a prophecy as much as Joy Boy, as the Joy Boy prophecy. Like someone who it's like the yin, it's like the yang to Joy Boy's yin. Who someone who's just as uh qualified to succeed at, you know, whatever it is, or to succeed at their at someone with a fate just as strong as Joy Boy, or a destiny just as strong as Joy Boy, and is and they're just as qualified as completing their fate, right? So I know that was a little tough for me to get out, right? But yeah, so I think Blackbeard is very important. I don't know if I will classify him as a Joy Boy, but I think his fate is just as strong as Luffy's fate being Joy Boy. I think Luffy is Joy Boy though. I do think Luffy is the Joy Boy of this moment in time.
forward. Now, by Odahime's quote, we cannot mention Joyboy without mentioning Poseidon simultaneously. This means that Joyboy will always be linked to the fishman to some degree. For example, the first time we ever hear of Joyboy is during Nico, Robin, and Neptune's conversation in One Piece chapter 649. Robin demands to know who Joyboy is since she can read the poneglyph in the Forest of the Sea. Also, that there was a message of Joyboy apologizing on it. Neptune says that Joyboy was a person who lived during the 100-year void 800 years ago. He also mentions that Joyboy made a promise, and even though the contents of that promise aren't clear, someone will come along and fulfill that promise in Joyboy's stead. Now, by Neptune's quote, we know that the previous Joyboy made a promise and failed. So Neptune believes that the next Joyboy will complete what was left undone by the previous Joyboy, but it also suggests that Joyboys may always make a promise, and if that promise is not fulfilled, then the ensuing Joyboy will accomplish it somehow. Remember how we could not talk about Poseidon without mentioning Joyboy? Well, this may be further proof of that. During chapter 648, Shirahoshi is shown speaking to the Neptunians who are protecting the Noah. One of the Neptunians says to Shirahoshi that they've been waiting for her to be born. Every few hundred years, their sovereign is born in the form of a mermaid for some reason. That sovereign is their queen. This states that there are multiple queens through many lifetimes, which leads to the question, if every mermaid is supposed to be guided by a Joyboy, then there must have always been more than one Joyboy, right? Doesn't this
Yeah, that definitely makes sense, and I'm definitely on that line of thinking right there. There has to be multiple Joyboys. The question is, after Luffy fulfills his destiny, I kind of hate having to use the term destiny in like the story of One Piece, because I hate. I'm not a fan of like the child of destiny or prophecy or whatever. But let's be serious here. That's kind of what this One Piece is turned to, especially when we learned about like Joyboy and all that stuff. So and Luffy being Joyboy and Nika and everything. But like, what was I going to say? But yeah, so if Joy, after Luffy or Joyboy completes the mission, do Poseidon stop being born into this world? That would be my question. That would definitely be my question right there. But yeah, so I believe that Goldie Roger was also a Joyboy candidate, right? But we know during his time, because he talked to Neptune. Neptune was like, "Yeah, my daughter, or yes, my daughter is going to be Poseidon." I think I'm trying to remember correctly. Y'all correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure Neptune, King Neptune, was talking to Roger about his daughter being. Yeah, because I think Shirahoshi was being conceived in Otohime's body at that time, if I remember correctly. I'm having bad memory. But yeah, so I think Roger was too early, But if he was on time, he would have been the Joyboy. He found the One Piece. He did everything. He pretty much succeeded at mostly everything that Joyboy has succeeded, or that Joyboy needs to succeed in order to complete his objective. Mainly finding the One Piece. How many other people really have came as close to Goldie Roger to finding the One Piece as, as Roger, right? As Roger. How many people found the One Piece? Not many people. Goldie Roger was like the first person in hundreds of years to land on Laugh Tale. If I remember correctly, he was like the first person on Laugh Tale since maybe the Void Century, right? Since whoever hid the One Piece in the first place. So, Roger had some level of specialness, is all I'm saying. So I think he definitely was a Joyboy. He just was too early. He had all the other qualities that qualify him as Joyboy, except being able to complete the mission, you know.
Validate that reincarnation is in fact a thing within One Piece? Let me provide better evidence for that thought. The Neptunians, during that same scene, mentioned that they believe Luffy can hear them, indicating that might be a skill trait that all Joy Boys throughout time possess. They recollect Roger being able to hear them, and even Odin too. The only way that is possible is if Luffy...
I mean, look at that. Like, you know, Roger... Like Luffy, Roger could hear Sea Kings and everything. Just saying.
Roger and Odin had the voice of all things, which it is confirmed they do. Then we have Kozuki Toki, the woman who traveled 800 years to meet Joyboy. Even though this isn't confirmed, it was insinuated that Toki had indeed traveled from the past to go to Wano to meet Joyboy. In the anime, Odin tells Toki that she should time travel ahead another 20 years, considering the purpose of her trip. Odin believed it would have benefited her more, further verifying that multiple Joy Boys do exist if her mission...
Yeah, like, why would she go to Roger's time, right? Like, why would she end up at Roger's time? Like, somebody had to tell her Joy Boy was going to be around at that specific time, and then she goes forward in time to Roger's exact time. So, again, she wasn't wrong for going in that during that time. It was just Roger was the wrong Joy Boy. That's what I believe. I think Roger, she was correct in finding a Joy Boy. It was just not the Joy Boy. It was not the succeeding Joy Boy, you know. But she was correct in finding a Joy Boy. That Joy Boy being Goldie Roger.
Was to meet him/her. So now that I've assured you that multiple Joy Boys should exist, it's time to understand what makes you a Joy Boy candidate. Here's a checklist I've created through the research we've just gone over so far. First,
okay, so he has a Joy Boy candidacy checklist. Let's see what he's talking about. First, we got be alive simultaneously as Poseidon. Again. I'm gonna let him do it. I'm gonna let him go through his checklist, but I kind of disagree. I disagree that that's something you have to check off in order to be a candidate. But I do believe it's something that has to be checked off for you to actually be Joy Boy.
Joy Boy needs to be alive simultaneously as Poseidon. Second, Joy Boy must have the voice of all things. Third,
okay.
Joy Boy must make a promise. And then fourth
promise.
And finally, Joy Boy will change the world. Now,
let's kind of touch on that, right? Now, because I think he said these are the things you must have in order to be a candidate, right? I don't know. I don't think you have to have all these things in order to be a candidate, but I think you have to have all these things in order to succeed as Joy Boy, right? Because like, let's use Roger, for example. I believe Goldie Roger was a candidate, but be alive simultaneously as Poseidon, he wasn't alive at the same time, so he failed in that area. Must have voice of all things. Yes, Roger, from what we seen, he seems to have the voice of all things. So yeah. 3, make a promise. I don't think Roger actually made a promise. I don't know if making a promise, if I consider that as a quality, but I don't know if Roger made a promise. But I think it's possible he could have made some type of promise, right? Like Luffy, I think Luffy has made promises. But I don't know if Roger did. 4, change the world. Roger did kind of change the world in at some level, right? Like he started the Great Pirate Age. That was Roger, right? Roger started the Great Pirate Age, and through his execution. So you can say Roger did change the world, right? Now let's use Luffy for example. You know, Luffy is alive same time as Poseidon. Luffy has the voice of all things. Luffy makes tons of promises. So I mean, I guess you could say he made a promise. I don't know if it's like a certain level of promise you have to make though, right? Like does the promise have to be towards the fisherman? Does it have to just be a promise? I don't know. I don't know. That's a very vague qualification to make a promise when it's very vague, because I could promise. I've made plenty of promises in my life. For change the world, Luffy has been changing the world, but he will change the world like at a grander stage at the end of the story, I assume. So we can just say Luffy is going to check off all these boxes. But you got guys like Roger. I've talked to people, guys like what's his name, Nolan Montblanc. He was. I don't know if Nolan was alive around the same time as Poseidon. We don't know the depth of what was happening at that time in the world, right? Voice of all things. I don't know if Nolan has that made a promise. I think he made a promise to the Shandorians and changed the world. You could say he's changed the world to a degree, maybe. He is remembered in history. Let's continue.
Will change the world. Now this brings up the question, who would the Joyboy candidates be? Here are some I imagine that could have become Joyboy, or who was the Joyboy of their era, even though they have failed and had some missing check marks. First, we have Noland. He lived 400 years ago. He was the first person in the history of One Piece to display the voice of all things. By hearing the bell of Shandora through a storm that no one else could hear, he openly opposes the gods by cutting off the head of Kashigami. Nolan then promises Kalgara that he'll come back to Shandora, but due to the knock-up stream, Nolan couldn't fulfill this promise. Nolan failed by not changing the world, keeping his promise, and possibly not being born simultaneously with Poseidon. Next, we have Captain Vanderdecken. No, not the current Vanderdecken we know. Our Vanderdecken is the 8th Vanderdecken out of his lineage, and he's 35. If we speculated that Vanderdecken's type of fishman lives up to 50, then that would make that 400 years ago, the first Vanderdecken lived during Nolan's time. So, if we take Vanderdecken's 8th generation into account, that would be at least up to the age before that fishman, the OG Vanderdecken, is the one Brook mentioned within One Piece chapters.
I think the OG Vanderdecken was more like the anti-Joyboy, kind of like maybe Zebek or Blackbeard,
606. Vanderdecken, the 8th, sees Shirahoshi use the Poseidon power for the first time, and he says to himself, "It's the legend. Long ago, a mermaid princess had the uncanny ability to control Neptunians. That legend..."
Yeah, we know the original Vanderdecken supposedly he went to the sea to find Poseidon, I think. Find the Poseidon of that era. I don't know if Poseidon was out during that time, but I think that's why he went to the sea. And then I think he was also looking for a treasure as well. A great treasure, right? A great treasure that kind of could be considered like the One Piece maybe. And if he was looking for the One Piece, I think that might be a telltale sign that maybe the One Piece is at the bottom of the ocean somewhere. That's why I kind of like that idea of Enies Lobby being that waterfall being where Laugh Tale is, or the idea, the whole whale idea, right? The whale idea from Dak Saki, because it just makes sense that the One Piece is is in the ocean or under sea level,
Legend was what first lured the first Vanderdecken down to the sea floor. The truth of the legend is a secret that belongs to my family alone, indicating that the first Vanderdecken from 8 generations back may have lived during Nolan's time, depending on how long fishmen live for, specifically Vanderdecken's type of fishman. The only way Vanderdecken could have known where Poseidon resided was if he also visited Shandora to read the poneglyph. How would he do that if he weren't a Kozuki. Maybe the Kozuki language was freely able to be learned and wasn't deemed evil yet. Vanderdecken found the poneglyph and used his voice of all things to further decipher its importance. Either way, Brook sings the song of Vanderdecken, and it goes, "Dead men tell no tales. Dead men have no desires. In this blackened nation, where not even crow flies, dead men's fingers have no need of jewels. The darkness hides even their regrets. Find it, find it. The sunken treasure is mine for the taking. I'm the richest man in the world, Captain Vanderdecken." Then Brook states Vanderdecken's ship is hundreds of years old. On one stormy night, he suddenly went mad and threw his crew overboard. He drowned them all and cursed at the gods. This would mean that maybe Vanderdecken found the laugh tale, and what he learned drove him insane, thus telling us that if he were a
Kind of like that thought that Vanderdecken did find laugh tale, right? Kind of like that, and whatever it was drove him mad, and where like Goldie Roger laughed, Vanderdecken, it drove him mad, possibly. Just saying.
companion of Poseidon, he would have used her power for evil to change the world. He just never made a promise to anyone and probably wasn't born simultaneously as Poseidon if Poseidon was not reincarnated at that point. I personally believe these were the two first Joyboy candidates before we actually got Joyboy included into the series, and these two candidates were Noland and his opposite was Vanderdecken. There will always be one willing to use Poseidon for evil and one to use Poseidon for good. Now, our next candidates are Rox, Roger, and Odin. Rox arguably has the biggest ambition we've ever seen in the show. He didn't want to be a Yonko.
I don't know if I think Odin was a Joy Boy. You know, I think Goldie Roger was a Joy Boy at that time. I don't know if I believe Odin was. Yeah, Odin did have Voice of All Things, but I don't think Voice of All Things are exclusive to Joy Boy candidates, right? I don't think that's the case. I think the Voice of All Things is exclusive. Just like you just have to be a special individual. Like Momonosuke, I don't think is a Joy Boy candidate, but you know you could say he has the Voice of All Things as well.
Or to become the Pirate King. He wanted to be the ruler of the entire world. Achieving that would mean he would have to change the world. There aren't many examples such as that, but it would make him a candidate because that's what Joyboy would be capable of too. Plus, Rox was Roger's greatest adversary. It's only right that he complimented Roger by being a Joyboy candidate, which would be the Joyboy of the night. Then we have Roger. Roger changed the world by creating the Age of Pirates. Rayleigh stated to Robin that Roger also had the voice of all things. It's even confirmed by Big Mom after Roger stole Prince off her poneglyph when speaking to her subordinates. The Neptunians even mention they are being heard by Roger. Roger then asks Charlie when the mermaid princess who will become Poseidon will be born, and she replies 10 years from this time. Roger says they came too early.
Oh yeah, okay.
Saying that
so that's how Roger knew. That's how not through Neptune. I don't think Neptune told, like, I had to go back and look at it because I think Neptune might have said something about his daughter, but I don't even know if he knew he was having a child at that time. So I'll have to look. But Shirley was the one that told Roger about Poseidon being born in 10 years. So yeah, that makes sense. That makes more sense.
he wasn't born simultaneously as Poseidon. For the final check, Rayleigh asks Roger if he remembers what he first told him. Roger responds with yes. It was to turn the world upside down. Then Roger asks Rayleigh if he fulfilled his promise, and Rayleigh replies yes. Roger failed because he was born at the wrong time but checked off everything else. He just needed Poseidon to be with him simultaneously. Now we have Odin. Odin, like Roger, wasn't born during the same time.
I think another check that he should also add to a Joy Boy candidate that I just thought about is you have to find the One Piece as well, because I think whatever is part of the One Piece is what is the catalyst for changing the world, like really fulfilling the promise of the original Joyboy. I think that's what makes you a successful Joyboy. At you have to fulfill the promise of the original Joyboy, and I think finding the One Piece is necessary, right? Because or even if it's not fulfilling the promise of Joyboy, you still, in order to change the world, right, or in order to change the world, you have to have the One Piece. Like if Zebek wants to succeed at what he wanted, he needs the One Piece. If Blackbeard wants to succeed at what he's trying to do, he needs the One Piece. Same with Luffy. Same with Roger. Yes, Roger said he's going to change the world, and he did change the world, but he didn't change it as far as following the prophecy of the Joy. I think the prophecy is what makes you the successful Joyboy, completing the prophecy at fulfilling the Joyboy promise to the fisherman, fulfilling of connecting the world, destroying the red line. I think those are what makes you a successful Joyboy. But yeah, so I think finding the One Piece is another qualification at being a successful Joyboy, not at just being a Joyboy candidate. Now, the checklist that he made, I think you could kind of measure the Joyboy success, the success of the Joyboy with that checklist. But I do think the One Piece is necessary for finding the Joyboy. I think successfully collecting all the ancient weapons is another qualification, which in order to successfully collect all the weapons, you have to be born at the same, you have to exist at the same time as Poseidon. Because if Poseidon isn't existing at that time, you can't collect all the ancient weapons. So I do believe I would change his checklist around from I gotta see what it looked like again. Cause I forgot what it is. I'm gonna go to all right, yeah, we're gonna cut here.
Of 2.
All right, so I would say for the first one, I would say collect all the ancient weapons, right? Number 2, voice of all things. I agree with that. 3, I don't know if I would just say make a promise. I don't know if I guess you could say make a promise, but I think your promise has to be in line with the promise of the Joy Boys, right? The changing the world promise. So I would say make a world changing promise, right? As far as freeing. So I guess I would keep it maybe. And then 4, change the world, as in like not just how Roger changed the world, but actually change the world as far as completing the Joy Boy objective. That's what I would say. Complete the Joy Boy objective. And I think in order to complete the Joy Boy objective / change the world, you need all the ancient weapons. So yeah, I would possibly change that around a bit. But still not a bad checklist. Just let me go ahead forward a little bit.
Roger. Roger then asks Charlie when the mermaid princess who will become Poseidon will be born, and she replies 10 years from this time. Roger says they came too early, furthermore saying that he wasn't born simultaneously as Poseidon. For the final check, Rayleigh asks Roger if he remembers what he first told him. Roger responds with yes. It was to turn the world upside down. Then Roger asks Rayleigh if he fulfilled his promise, and Rayleigh replies yes. Roger failed because he was born at the wrong time but checked off everything else. He just needed Poseidon to be with him simultaneously. Now we have Odin. Odin, like Roger, wasn't born during the same time as Poseidon, so he fails in that category immediately. Odin also promised the Roger pirates that he would open Wano's borders, become shogun, and pass on his will to the future generation. He couldn't keep his full promise though. He completed 1 out of the 3. Odin was confirmed to have the voice of all things as he heard what the Neptunians were saying training and even felt Zunisha, much like Momonosuke did. Because Odin died to the hands of Kaido and Orochi, he was never able to fulfill his promise of opening the borders of Wano, which would eventually change the world too. I personally believe that the two that were the true Joy Boys of their
I don't believe Odin. I don't believe Odin was a Joy Boy, me personally. But I mean, it made a good argument though. So I'm not going to knock it. I just don't believe that Odin was, in fact, a Joy Boy candidate.
Their era were Rox and Roger. One meant to use Poseidon for evil and the other for good. Odin was a candidate though, for sure. Now, as we move towards the current era, the Joy Boy candidates are Dragon, Luffy, Ace, Blackbeard, and Momonosuke. Let's start with Dragon because he is the vaguest out of all the characters in the series. Dragon is alive during
I can't. I gotta disagree. I gotta disagree with Dragon. I gotta disagree with Ace, and I gotta disagree with Momonosuke. I don't think Momonosuke's role is Joy Boy. Yes, I get he has the voice of all things and everything. I just don't believe that to be his role, right? I don't believe that him or Odin, just having Joy voice of all things. I don't believe that. You know what I mean? Ace, the fact that Ace already failed, I think that just kind of disqualifies him. And I don't believe he was even close in the picture, right? Like, we don't know if he had the voice of all things. He didn't really change the world, right? Like his father did. Him being Goldie Rogers' son kind of made him impact the world in many ways, but he didn't really change the world. I don't think he ever really he did make a promise. His promise was to make Whitebeard the Pirate King, but that's not like a grand promise though. That's not like, to me, that's not a promise fit for a Joy Boy. You know what I mean? So I don't think he has the voice of all things either. So I don't think Ace has any qualities to really make him Joy Boy. I think he's like the least likely of the ones he named. Dragon, I don't think Dragon really has showcased anything to be Joy Boy either, And I know, yes, he's mysterious and everything, and he's trying to change the world through being a revolutionary. I don't think, does he have the voice of all things? I guess his promise would be world changing because he's trying to change the world. So yeah. I don't know. I don't know with Dragon. I don't think so. I just don't believe it. I don't believe it. And who else he said? Momonosuke. Momonosuke is a little more qualified than Dragon and Ace, but I don't believe that's the case either. I don't believe it's Momonosuke either. And and another thing, I don't believe that there's multiple Joy Boys that live in the same era. I think there's only one Joy Boy, maybe two if we're talking about having an anti Joy Boy. Like if you want say Blackbeard being the anti Joy Boy or the Joy Boy of Dark Night, Joy Boy of the Night. Okay, I kind of get that line of thinking, and I kind of agree with it. But for it to be Luffy, Ace, Dragon, and Momonosuke, I don't believe there's all these Joy Boy of the day, like he in his words, Joy Boy of the day or whatever. I don't believe it's all these Joy Boys. I think there's only the good Joy Boy and the bad Joy Boy, and I don't even know if I really considered Blackbeard Joy Boy. I just think he's like the anti Joy Boy. Like I believe that back in the original Joy Boy's day, I believe Joy Boy had a rival. He had an antithesis, somebody to counter what he was trying to do. You know what I mean? And somebody with just as strong will as the Joy Boy that we know of. And I think that's the line that Blackbeard and Zebek come from. That guy, that person. you know.
The same time as Poseidon. During One Piece chapter 432, Robin informs us that Dragon is the world's worst criminal. Since he wants to topple the world government, his ideology has spread to many nations of the world, causing them to rebel against the world government. Therefore, he wants to change the world. To further prove that, during One Piece chapter 587, he says, "This nation is the future of the world in miniature. A world where unwanted things are discarded can never be truly happy. I will change the world one of these days." We can say he hasn't completed that yet, but he did openly promise what he intends to do. During One Piece chapter 539, it can even be surmised that Dragon has advanced observation haki due to his instinct to always stare into the direction of the east blue. The next level.
And another thing, another reason why I don't think Dragon and Ace and Momonosuke are Joy Boys, because I think there is another qualification that has to check off in order to be Joy Boy. I think you have to inherit Joy Boy's will, and I don't think multiple people can inherit Joy Boy's will. I think Luffy, at the moment, at this point in time in the One Piece world, I think Luffy is the only person who inherited the will of Joy Boy. You know, even Zunisha called Luffy Joy Boy, right? Zunisha called Luffy Joy Boy, meaning to me that's saying that Luffy inherited Joy Boy's will and is in fact the inheritor of Joy Boy. I don't think Dragon has Joy Boy's will because, again, Joy Boy, I believe, has a certain disposition, right? From what we knew, Luffy is similar to Goldie Roger in many ways, right? Their love of adventure, their fearlessness, the fact that the odds could be completely against them and they still go in smiling, whatever, right? So it tells me that Luffy has a certain disposition that he shares with Goldie Roger as well. And I also believe Goldie Roger to be a Joy Boy candidate as well. I don't think Momonosuke has this disposition that Luffy has. I don't think Dragon has this disposition either, because Dragon seems way too serious. He seems way too serious. Momonosuke seems, he's childlike and he gets scared a lot easier. Ace kind of doubted himself. Ace isn't really like Luffy either. So I think there's a certain personality that comes with being Joy Boy, is what I'm saying. So, and I think Luffy kind of covers that, and I think Roger might cover that as well. I don't think Ace covers it. I don't think Dragon covers it, and I don't think Momonosuke covers that type that personality or disposition you have to have in order to be Joy Boy, Because it wouldn't shock me when we learned about Joy Boy that he was that him and Luffy are just alike. Like I'm almost banking on that. I'm banking on this idea that when we get a flashback of the original Joy Boy, that he's going to be just like Luffy. You know what I'm saying? So, or, he's going to be similar in, like, his personality is going to be similar to Luffy and Goldie Rogers, so.
For that type of haki is Future Sight, then the voice of all things, but it's not confirmed he has either. Next, we have Momonosuke. He's the most dubious choice because of his role within the overall story, but as it turns out, Momonosuke might be the closest to any Joy Boy being the true Joy Boy ever. He lives during the time of Poseidon. He has the voice of all things, which he uses to talk to Luffy and Zunisha, and he kept his promise to his mother. During One Piece chapter 1047, Kozuki Toki tells Momonosuke to travel to the future and rebuild the strength of the Kozuki clan. During One Piece Piece Chapter 1051, Momonosuke tells the citizens of Wano that Orochi and Kaido are no more, that he will turn Wano into a paradise. Then he has an inside dialogue with himself saying, "Mother, I will keep my promise," meaning he will rebuild the strength of the Kozuki clan. The only thing Momonosuke hasn't done is change the world, but if he ever decides to open Wano's borders, that might be all the change he needs, and he'd be the first character in the series to have all 4 conditions to become the true Joyboy. Then we have Ace, the son of Roger. During One Piece chapter 968, Roger tells everyone that since they came too early, his son will be the one to find it, which helps Ace's case because he was in fact born during the era of Poseidon. Unfortunately, Ace was never stated to have the voice of all things to any regard unless the voice of all things is a hereditary trait that's passed down. Ace probably has the largest shortcomings as a Joyboy candidate. Oddly, he's the only character in the series that has made 3 different promises. First being to Yamato that he would come back to Wano to defeat Kaido. Second was to Otama that when he came back to Wano and she was a bewitching Konoichi, he would let her join his crew. Lastly, to Luffy. After Sabo died, Luffy made Ace promise that he would never die and leave him alone. Then during the Summit War, Ace...
But let's be real though, Luffy out here completing all of Ace's promises for him. You see what I'm saying? Like Luffy, this is why I believe Luffy is definitely the Joyboy, because he completes promises. He completes other people's promises. You know, like he inherited the will of Joyboy, so he has to inherit completing that promise that Joyboy made as well. He will. We know that. We know that.
Died in Luffy's arms, thus breaking all 3 promises. It's kind of wild because this also explains how Blackbeard is a Joyboy candidate. If Ace never loses to Blackbeard, he most likely becomes Joyboy, but because he loses to Blackbeard, it boosted Blackbeard forward for consideration. There's not much to go on from with Blackbeard since there's so little information about him, but from what I can gather, this is what would make him a Joyboy candidate. He currently lives in the same era as Poseidon. He is not alluded to having any advanced forms of haki, hence ruling out the voice of all things. But he did change the world by ending Whitebeard's era. The closest we've come to a promise from Blackbeard is during One Piece chapter 577, where Blackbeard proclaims this new era is now his after acquiring the Quake no Mi. Then finally him being the main antagonist of the show, possibly. Finally, we have our main protagonist, Luffy.
I don't know though. Do we say Blackbeard not changed the world? Because he's been impacting it. I don't know if he ain't changed the world, but he's definitely been leaving his mark on the world. So, I mean, you know, because a lot of things that happen in this in One Piece is because of Blackbeard. I mean, he hasn't changed the world significantly yet, at least, but he's been leaving his mark on it, though. He has been leaving his mark on it. So, I'm just saying.
Luffy is born in the era of Poseidon. One Piece Chapter 1, Luffy makes a promise to Shanks. He still hasn't met Shanks as a great pirate yet, so the promise isn't fulfilled. The Neptunians confirm that he does have the voice of all things, and it was later confirmed with Zunisha and his conversation with Momonosuke during One Piece Chapter 1015 after his defeat to Kaido. Luffy has a secret dream besides becoming the Pirate King, and we still don't know what that is yet. We just know it was the same thing that Roger had said, and Roger changed the world. So maybe Luffy will too. Now that I've somewhat got you on board with the multiple Joyboy theory, you can see that since there are candidates forward with the multiple Joyboy, we just know it was the same thing that Roger had said, and Roger changed the
Hold on. He does realize that Luffy has the voice of all things, right? I mean, we're talking about Luffy here, right? We're not talking about a different character. I'm pretty sure we're talking about Luffy. So, how does Luffy not have the voice of all things? I don't get it. I'm pretty sure Luffy has the voice of all things, but he says, like, from this slide, he's saying that Luffy doesn't have the voice of all things. Okay, I guess Luffy doesn't have the voice of all things, y'all. I guess I'm completely wrong about Luffy having the voice of all things. I thought he did. I thought that was apparent back when they was going to Fishman Island and stuff. I guess not.
We just know it was the same thing that Roger had said, and Roger changed the world. So maybe Luffy will too. Now that I've somewhat got you on board with the multiple Joyboy theory, you can see that since there are candidates for Joyboy, there's always one that will guide Poseidon for evil and one that will guide Poseidon for good. So maybe since Joyboys do take one another out like Blackbeard did to Ace, maybe that's where the graveyard comes into theory. For example, we never saw a grave for Roger. Yes, we've
Joy Boys taking each other out. That kind of remind me of that show Highlander, where it's like there can only be one. You got all these. Hey, y'all. I mean, y'all might want to check out Highlander. It's pretty good. I like the premise of Highlander, but it's like you got these immortals who've been like living throughout time, and there can only be one though. Like so, they duel each other, and you kill each other by like decapitating. Like that's the only way you could kill an immortal. You kill them, you decapitate them. Once you decapitate them, you you pretty much gain their power almost. Like you get stronger, or if like there are other immortals around, like anybody that's close in vicinity to the death of one of the immortals, they share the power, from that death, I guess. So they get stronger, and you get one final, like the immortal left standing will be the strongest immortal. Like pretty much, they'll be the strongest. They'll be like the culmination of all the other immortals. So that's kind of what I'm getting. Like you got all these Joy Boy candidates, and whoever's left standing is the Joy Boy. But I think Luffy is Joy Boy now. And I don't think he has to succeed at changing the world in order to be Joy Boy. For me, I think Joy Boy is something you either are or you aren't, right? I think it's something you are or you aren't, but you can still fail at being Joy Boy. Like Roger, for example. Like Zunisha called Luffy Joy Boy, and I think Zunisha possibly being somebody who was being something that was connected to Joy Boy, he would know. And he called Luffy Joy Boy. He said Joy Boy has returned. He didn't say a Joy Boy candidate is here or anything. He said Joy Boy has returned. Luffy has not succeeded at changing the world yet, so he didn't fulfill all his promises. So it just make me think that Luffy just is Joy Boy.
We've seen one for Ace, but even so, who's to say Emu didn't have one of the CP0 members dig the body up and throw it into one of those passages we were seeing him walk through? I'm just saying that there may be something there to say this holds weight, but it's just a theory. Now, to end the video off, there is one question that could throw a wrench into the whole theory and disprove it. This question is, to be Joy Boy, do you need to have the Hito Hito no Mi model type Nika Devil Fruit? This is still up in the air, and if so, then whoever
I think that might be a case too as well. I think in order for Joy Boy to succeed, the Hito Hito no Mi model Nika might be necessary. And why do I believe that might be necessary? I believe it could potentially be necessary for utilizing the One Piece. Whatever the One Piece is, I think it possibly might need the Nika Devil Fruit in order to be used to its fullest extent. That's why I think the Nika Devil Fruit wanted to find Luffy. That's why I believe it chose Luffy, because I do believe that the Nika Devil Fruit chose Luffy. I believe that because one thing we learned about the Nika Devil Fruit is that it's almost been like evading the world government for hundreds of years. Like the Gorosei said that. It's like they said it out their mouth that it's almost as if this devil fruit's been invading us for like 800 years, right? So that right there just shows me that this devil fruit has some level of sentience. It has a will, right? It has a will to where it it knows how to evade, and it knows, like, it almost chooses who it wants to be the person to carry it, right? And I think like for Shanks to have gotten it from the ship that who was on, maybe the devil fruit called out the Shanks. You know what I mean? Maybe it called out the Shanks. It attracted Shanks somehow, right? Shanks came, got it, took it. Shanks or somebody on his crew could have ate it, but for some reason, nobody ate it while Shanks was carrying it. It's like Shanks felt the need to just hold on to this devil fruit, maybe to try to sell it, maybe for whatever reason, I don't know, but something in Shanks made it to where he didn't just give it to one of his crew. Maybe because his crew doesn't eat devil fruits. Maybe it's kind of like a thing about Shanks' crew where they were like, "Hey, we don't mess with devil fruits," which explains why maybe the devil fruit chose Shanks. You know, because if Shanks was to do it, none of his crew would have ate it. So it like trusted Shanks to carry him to the person who was meant for, that person being Luffy. Because Shanks had the devil fruit, Luffy ate it. You know, and we know based on watching this story how Luffy's life has been turning out, and how it's almost like he's destined to be the Joy Boy and everything. So it's like, to me it's like that devil fruit chose Monkey D. Luffy even before finding Luffy. Like it was destined to come across Luffy. So that's kind of what I take from the devil fruit. Why did it choose Luffy? Maybe because Luffy needs that devil fruit in order to succeed at completing Joy Boy's objective. And that might be utilizing whatever is on Laugh Tale, whatever the One Piece is.
Whoever has eaten the fruit has the potential to be Nika, aka Joy Boy, no matter what. If not, then it leaves the room open for reincarnation. I hope you all enjoyed this video as much as I did making it. If you haven't joined our Discord, please do. The link to the Discord will be in the video description below. Also, if you can help me by liking the video and subscribing to my YouTube, that would be amazing. If you wanted to actually listen to all of us talk about One Piece on the podcast, please search up that One Piece talk on YouTube, on Apple Podcasts, or on even Spotify. You will be able to find us. But until then, I want to say thank you.
All right, man. Shout out to Ayo Larry. I'm going to give him a like. I'm going to also subscribe. Make sure you guys go show Ayo Larry some love. You know? But yeah, so that's kind of my thoughts, right? Like I believe there are Joy Boy candidates, right? But I'm of the belief that Luffy is Joy Boy, right? I don't think nobody else is as qualified as Luffy. I think Zunisha pretty much confirmed, and I know some people might not take some people might dispute Zunisha, saying, well, Zunisha just felt the devil fruit, whatever. But I think Zunisha confirmed that Luffy is indeed Joy Boy. You know what I mean? I just think that's what it is. I think Luffy is the Joy Boy of the current times. I believe there were Joy Boy candidates, but I don't think that they all existed in the same era. I think the only other Joy Boy candidate, I think Roger is the only Joy Boy candidate within, like, as far as the closest to Luffy's time. I think Roger is the only other Joy Boy candidate, right? I think there were Joy Boy candidates in each era, and the only reason they didn't fully become Joy Boy is because either A, they failed, B, they didn't have everything necessary to complete whatever the Joy Boy mission is. Because I believe there's like a Joy Boy mission. You know what I mean? Like an objective for Joy Boy, right? Like he says something about a promise about like Joyboys having to make a promise. I believe there is a Joyboy objective, and that we learn what that is at Laugh Tale. When we find the One Piece, we'll learn what the Joyboy objective is. You know, I believe that potentially is uniting the world, destroying the Red Line, and bringing the world, turning the world into one piece. You know, it's funny that name, the One Piece. I think there's so many meanings to it as far in the story. It's a treasure called the One Piece, yes, but the One Piece also turns the world into one piece by uniting it, by destroying the Red Line. You unite all the East Blue, the North Blue, the West Blue, the South Blue. You unite all of them to where it becomes one united ocean, right? So it makes people more freely able to travel. You also get the all blue out of it. You know, you get the all blue, which completes Sanji's goal as well. So I think that is the total objective for Joyboy: unite the world and pretty much destroy oppression, the oppressive government, which is the world government. Right? You get rid of all that. You bring unity within the world. You unite all the different races. You know, make them maybe not make them get along, but have it to where there's no segregation or discrimination and stuff like that. Even though I don't know how you really get rid of discrimination, but it's a story. You know, we just kind of go along with the story. But yeah, anyway, that's pretty much all I got for the video. Make sure you guys hit that like button. Also, subscribe, hit that bell for notifications. Follow me on Twitch. Follow me on Twitch so you can engage with me in real time. And you can catch me while I'm doing all these reactions and everything. Give me your input. Also, comment down below your thoughts on the video. What did I get right? What did I get wrong? Follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook if you want to connect with me directly. Also, join the Discord. Come be a part of the Discord if you want to send me stuff to react to, or if you just want to engage with me. That's usually where I'm the most active. I also, if you want to be part of a future discussion stream, make sure you're a part of the Discord as well. All of these will be in the description box below, as well as the link to the video we just watched. So y'all go give Ayo Larry some love. Anyway, y'all, it's your boy Sean P, the Bluff God, and I'm out of here. Peace.